I mean, the way I look at it is our body is a machine, right? And we need to take care of it. If I buy a car and I never change the oil, I never get new tires or brakes or anything like that, over time that car's going to break down and it's not going to perform as well, and it's going to leave me stranded and unable to complete the things that I need and want to complete throughout my day or life.
Welcome, everyone, to the 1% Edge podcast. Here we have the privilege of meeting amazing guests and having conversations about their journeys to getting 1% better every day. Today, I have the honor of having Ben Timm as our podcast guest, a former Marine, gym owner, SaaS sales leader, and currently the senior sales director at eGym. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thanks, Carlos. Super excited to be here and just really looking forward to today's conversation. I'm just thrilled to be on the podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you, buddy. Um, so today's topic, we're going to talk about the power of health and fitness as a professional. And in full transparency, folks, maybe I'm a late bloomer to this. Maybe I'm never going to get there, but I've always put work ahead of health and fitness throughout my career. And I'm not saying that as a good thing. I'm saying that as I think it's a bad thing because I think it's caught up to me. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation with Ben today and picking up some ideas and tips to make me better.
Yeah.
So, Ben, before we go too far into it, and I always like to define the topic. So, what does health and fitness mean to you, Ben?
I mean, the way I look at it is our body is a machine, right? And we need to take care of it. If I buy a car and I never change the oil, I never get new tires or brakes or anything like that, over time that car's going to break down and it's not going to perform as well, and it's going to leave me stranded and unable to complete the things that I need and want to complete throughout my day or life. So, health and fitness to me is how we take care of our physical body to make sure that we can perform at the highest levels possible, to make sure that we have the energy, the sharpness, the just the intention and the ability to put forth our best effort into the things that are important to us and to our path. So that's what health and fitness is to me. It's really just a lot of really hard work and sweat.
But now, for a lot of folks, when they're young, they're in the sports. They have groups of friends they work out with. They end up, work gets busier, life gets busier, children come into the play, and a lot of times health and fitness falls on the back burner. What advice do you have? Like, because I see some folks that make it a habit, and I see other folks like me that, hey, I just never have time for it.
Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, the thing that I think a lot of people kind of get misconstrued with when it comes to health and fitness is you got to do all this stuff. And really, some of the most successful regiments and the most successful just processes that I've worked with people and seen people go through is very little actual time and effort. I recommend 45 minutes a day just for a walk, right? Just go for, and I don't mean 45 minutes a day of walking. Oh, I'm on my feet all day long. No, no, no. Intentionally stop what you're doing, go for a walk for 45 minutes, listen to a book, listen to a podcast, have a conversation with your significant other or friend, and just go for a walk. A lot of people, I think, go, and they get into this mindset of like, oh, well, I'll go to the gym when I lose a couple pounds because I need to be in better shape before that. As a business owner, a gym owner, I hear that a lot. Oh yeah, I'm going to start jujitsu. I got to lose a couple pounds. I want to get in better shape before I do that. This goes back to that old adage, the best time to plant a tree is 30 years ago. The second best time is today. Don't let where you're at today stop you from where you want to be tomorrow, right? And I think that's where a lot of people kind of get, mixed up and wrapped around the axle in the aspect of, oh, I just don't have time for that. 45 minutes a day. I bet if you looked at your cell phone, if you've got an Apple, and saw how much time you spend on social media or something like that, I bet you do have 45 minutes in your day.
Uh, that is so true. Uh, let's talk about two different angles. One is like, how do you, ideas on scheduling it. And the other one is what to schedule, because we're going to go back to the walking things. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
On the how to schedule it, I have some coworkers. They've just always been disciplined. I mean, it doesn't matter how late we're out that night with the customer. 5:30, they're in the gym. They're squeezing it in, no matter what. It's like breathing to them.
Yep.
And me, I'm like, I'll take 30 minutes of sleep because I got to be on the rest of the day.
Hmm.
And it's funny because I say that and I'm really cheating myself because by them going to the gym and clearing their mind, they're probably more effective than I am.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts on how do you schedule that 45-minute walk or whatever it is that you do?
Yeah, I mean, so I am, Carlos, to your point, I am the early riser. So like, it's morning time right now for us as we're recording this. My alarm went off at 4:45 this morning, and I did a hour-long jujitsu class at 5:30 this morning, to 6:30. I do that. We were a couple of months ago, my company, my previous company, we were at a president's club, right? So big sales celebration, achievers, and all this, and we're all inclusive, expenses paid. We're out having a great time. 5:30 in the morning, I was up at a jujitsu gym. My wife, who's also a professional, she was up going to the gym herself. We constantly are making, we prioritize scheduling that. And if it's early in the morning before the day starts, that's how I prefer to do it. If it's at the end of the day, some people can get away with that. I run into an issue personally where by the end of the day, I am exhausted, right? Because I've juggled with the kids and we've got, errands and pickups and drop offs and food and the work day on top of that, not to mention all the other household things that have to get done. And the next thing you know, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. You're like, man, I'm just exhausted. What am I going to do? And it's hard to overcome that need to go do a 45-minute walk or to go do some stretching or yoga or some lifting or something like that. So I'm a huge fan and a big proponent of the early rise. Get into it. I I think one of the things that I've picked up recently, and I didn't come up with this. Dan Martell
Yeah.
came up with this, and he talks about this a lot. Is exhaust the body to tame the mind, right? And I think that really does hit to the point of I know if I am consistent in my workout schedule and if I am physically exhausting myself in a sport or a routine that I have in, I do have more energy throughout the day because my body is running at a better as a better machine, right? I have more energy overall because my body is used to this kind of effort that I need to put out, and it really helps me clarify and really just clear my mind and focus on the things that are super important. So I definitely lean into like I said, Dan Martell's big point. When we can exhaust the body, that allows us to tame the mind, and I think to even think clearer than we would normally.
I recently read his book too, and he's one of those that gets up at 4:30 in the
Oh yeah.
morning, something like that, every day, and he talks about having his routine. So I'm trying to implement some of his good ideas. This next question I know the answer to, but I'm still going to ask it. So, hey, that's great, but what about those folks that travel 50, 60, 70% of the time?
Hmm. You know what? I would go into, and this is my point on this, is if you're on the road 60, 70% of the time, which I understand, you have no excuse not to work out because let's be honest. If like when I'm on the road, like yeah, I've got an early flight. Hey, I'm gonna leave my house at 4 o'clock in the morning because I've got to catch the 6 a.m. flight, which I'm gonna land at we'll call it 1 p.m. And then I've got this client thing. All right, cool. I have yet to find a hotel that a professional, and I'm going to kind of throw that out there, a professional stays at. I'm not talking about the motor lodge down the road. I'm talking
I'm thinking of
about
Hojo.
Yeah, right. The Howard Johnsons of the world. I'm talking about like where you're going to stay at a Hilton property, a Marriott property. They have a fitness facility. All it takes is a 45-minute walk. Go jump on a treadmill, listen to what you're doing. I actually will use some of that time to do work, right? So I will review call notes. I will listen to some of my reps as a sales leader. I have literally set a tablet down on the treadmill and just watched one of my team members calls so I could then talk to them and work on their coaching because I did a call review. So I'm literally killing two birds with one stone, multitasking into that. You don't have an excuse to not work out. You don't have to worry about cleaning your house. You don't have to worry about your making sure that everything's going fine with you and your spouse because you're in each other's space all the time. You don't have your kids with you normally. Like you are on the road to complete a task and you're going to have some downtime. Instead of doom scrolling on your phone, go get on the treadmill. Then doom scroll while you're on the treadmill, right? Just go spend a couple minutes doing some of those basics. And I mean, I joke about it now. There are certain cities that I travel to on a more frequent basis. I changed hotels. I used to stay at a home to suites on a pretty regular basis, and then I found the Hilton Garden Inn down the road had their dumbbells were heavier, and I was like, well, I'm changing hotels now because I was in that area on a regular basis, so I went to the hotel with the heavier dumbbells.
Yeah, I mean, and whether it's weights, I mean, most of these hotels have a treadmill. So you can either walk on the treadmill or guess what? They probably have a sidewalk and you can
Yeah.
walk outside. But
Yep.
again, I am not very good at this. But like I said, I figured we go through it. Hey, you talked about doing jujitsu. What about different activities like that? Because I know some people do CrossFit and then they kind of, they'll burn out on that. And some people, like you're doing jujitsu or some other form. Some people do sports. Any recommendations there?
My recommendation would be if you're not doing anything, do something. That's my first recommendation. I think that it doesn't matter if you're doing Tai Chi, which is, a very low impact, very low effort requirement, all the way to jujitsu, CrossFit, Muay Thai, anything like that. Anything in the middle, anything from one extreme to the other is better than doing nothing and living a sedentary life. I come from a background of I've always been in strength sports and in combat sports and stuff like that. So I've done, I used to own a CrossFit gym, so I was the early riser and would go do CrossFit classes. Now I own a jujitsu school and I wake up early and do that. I don't think that there's a wrong thing to do if you if you are physically tired from the activity and you're doing it on a semi-regular basis 4 or 5 times a week, three at the minimum on a slow week, you're going to find the benefits of that. There are cardiovascular benefits. There are weight loss benefits. There are just overall health markers that just 45 minutes of some kind of activity a day can really make the big difference in how we feel, how we look, and how we're performing.
Interesting. Yeah. Like it all makes common sense. It's just for some folks, I mean, you were a Marine. You worked hard through this. You've had physical fitness be part of your life. Same thing like with athletes, like people that have played football
Yeah.
or baseball or basketball or whatever they did in high school. And then for other folks, it's like, I was a bump on a log, nerdy kid. And yes, I love sports, but I just didn't play them as often. And getting that part of this is mental and getting that, like it makes common sense. You got to go do it. It's kind of like
Yeah.
talking to someone that's depressed. You're like, hey, just snap out of it. It's not that big of a deal. You're like, dude, I wish it was that easy.
Right.
And
And
you
it's
think about getting into fitness, like, hey, you should just do it. It makes sense. Any advice on getting that mindset?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, Carlos, I would even just, just to answer your question with a question, and just as let's just kind of follow me with this. You consider yourself a professional, a sales professional, is that right? Yeah. Maybe, well, you got some skills, right, here and there.
I
Uh,
got my 10,000 hours plus in, so I'm
there you
feeling
go.
pretty
Right. So
damn good.
you've got some time on the board. Would you consider sales a performance-based metric?
Yes, of course.
Cool. So in any other activity where somebody is paid based on their performance, is there anyone that doesn't take their physical well-being into account on that?
You're right. Yeah.
Right? Now I know that a lot of these people that come to mind to start with are athletes, right? Your Tom Brady, great example, right? A lot of people would use Tom Brady as the example that not a lot of natural talent, but the hard worker who was always, always, always trying to improve and find ways to optimize to be better. So that was his profession, was to be as good as he could be. And we know that if you are sedentary, if you have a really, really poor diet, you are not going to be performing at the same levels as somebody who is doing those things, who is working out, who is eating a healthy lifestyle. I mean, I know a lot of people, and I look at sales especially sales from a lot of different aspects. Sales is sales, right? Doesn't matter if I'm selling cars or software, real estate or fitness equipment, they're all the same thing. We have to make sure that we are overcoming whatever objections. We need to make sure that we're showing the value and we're solving the problem of the person that we're closing. If I am just in better shape, if I am taking my ability to perform seriously, then I need to do whatever I can to optimize myself to be better. And I think that a lot of people get into this space where they're like, yeah, well, I've got these deadlines and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, but just start. You don't have to do crazy. I'm not telling everybody to go out and jump into CrossFit and go 6 days a week or go sign up for jujitsu. Do I think you should try some combat martial arts like that? I would think that there's some benefits to it. It's why my whole family does it. But at the same time, like, just go for a walk. It doesn't have to be super strenuous. It doesn't have to be super crazy. 45 minutes, mild effort of a walk is more than enough to get you going on that right path.
Then I feel like I'm going to owe you money at the end of this thing for a therapy session. But you are right on the money, right? If you're going to be the best at whatever you do, your physical and mental fitness play a key role in it. And if those things are lacking, then you're not going to be the best at what you do.
Yeah.
Um, so great point. Um, Ben, it sounds like you've had a great career. One question I like to usually ask folks is like, we've all had these missteps or challenges in our careers, and they've sometimes have taught us the biggest lessons in life. Do you have anything like that you could share?
Man, some of the biggest realizing that, and this was a big one for me. Early in my career in SaaS sales, I was promoted into a role, and I thought I was promoted into the role based on what I could do and what I knew, not what my potential was in that role. So I came in with kind of this like, oh, they made me this director. I obviously know all this stuff, and it took me a little bit of time. I had to cross some pain points through my career to understand that it wasn't that I was given that role based on what I could do, but what I had the potential to do. And I needed to, and this is something that I really, the big learning for me is to be the constant professional. And again, I'm not I use Tom Brady too much, but I think he really does a great job in talking about encompassing being a professional. I, as a sales leader, need to constantly be improving in my abilities to be a leader, a sales professional. I talk about it in the books that I read. Like, I enjoy reading, but I really focus on what can I do to read to grow more, to be better. How can I service my team members better? How can I help our company better? How can I help our customers more? And I want to be that constant professional, always learning and challenging myself to do the hard things. Not to sit back on my laurels and to just like rest and be like, oh, okay, cool. Hey, I got this. No big deal. But to be challenging myself and to move, what can I do to move that needle? And the thing, it doesn't matter if you've been in sales for 1 year or 20 years, there's more that you can know and do and learn. So, this goes back to some of the fitness stuff. I look at Andy Elliott, right, who is a big internet persona right now, influencer in automotive sales. And a lot of people, he said some things that people have rubbed him the wrong way. And he's like, yeah, we don't have people on our team that don't have six packs. And they're like, well, how could you're not going to hire someone because they don't physically work out? And he's like, that's not part of who we are and what we expect. That is our culture, that we are constantly working to improve ourselves. So we only hire people who are constantly working to improve themselves. I know a lot of people don't like that. I'm kind of over here on that page of like, I mean, I kind of saying, right? Like, what can we do to always improve ourselves? So the biggest thing that I always recommend to people is be the constant professional. It doesn't matter if you're in customer support, sales. It doesn't matter if you're in marketing, product development. What can I do to always be improving my ability to deliver?
I love that. And I get the six pack thing. I wouldn't be hired there, but
Me neither.
I
All right, like
but I do get the idea of, like, hey, we got to I mean, that's part of the reason I did the podcast, right? It's like, hey, if you look at the top performers, they're constantly looking to get better, learn something, and improve. And it doesn't mean they succeed every day, but they learn something every day. Versus the B and C players, which is I've done this for a million years. I know what's going on. Whenever I get folks like that, I go, so you've peaked. Got it. It's over. This is as good as you're ever gonna get. I get it.
man, that is I have said that. I use that phrase you just said. So you've peaked. I got it. In some coaching calls, I had a sales rep that was like, yeah, he's like, I'm doing it. I'm doing everything I can. And I was like, all right, so you think this is just like, I just want to ask, like, make sure we're on the same page. This is the best. And he was like, yeah, this is the best. And I was like, cool. I was like, so you've peaked. This is all that that we'll see. And they were like, no, you just said that you're doing everything. I just want to like, where are we at with this? And man, I can tell you, I've never lit a fire under someone's ass, and I apologize for my profanity here, but I've never lit that fire under somebody's butt so hard that they were, I mean, next day, instantaneous across all measurable metrics, more. And I was like, yeah. And it was just that simple. So you peaked already, right? Anybody that's doing any kind of coaching, you put that in your back pocket. There's a time and place to pull it out. I mean, don't use it all the time, but there's definitely a good time and place for it.
A lot of people, I think, I mean, they're tired, they're exhausted, whatever. They get defensive, so they want to tell you how they're doing everything.
Mhm.
And the reality is, hey, A players don't feel like they're doing everything. They're always looking for ways to get better, and you got to decide who you want to be in life, right? And someone says it's kind of a mental state. It's hey, are you a constant learner, wanting to get better, like reading books or getting new viewpoints on life, or are you kind of set? Like, hey, I got my view and it's right,
Yeah.
and I'm not willing to put the effort in to explore anything else beyond that. And so now we're getting the whole mental health of this thing,
I know.
but I think that's another part of it, right? There's the
It is.
fitness, but there's also the mental side of it, and I think the two come into play. Ben, tell me a little bit more about yourself and your background. How did you get to this point in your life?
Yeah. Mental toughness.
Well, being a Marine ain't easy.
No. There's being a Marine's not. It's not easy, but it's not hard. And what I mean by that is you have to be able to you know, like life's gonna throw you things that are hard. can you adapt to that? One of the things that we say in the Marine Corps is, always flexible. We even make the joke about it. We're semper gumby, right? Semper fi, semper fidelis being our motto, always
Right.
faithful. So semper flexi or semper gumby, we're always flexible, right? We're going to adapt and overcome. And part of that gets into like, yeah, like there's going to be things that are hard and we're just going to get through it. We're going to do the job. And that's what it is. Um, I think some of the biggest things that have kind of helped me through this whole process is I always remember the things that I've done that were hard, right? And sometimes this can be a benefit to me is, and I've said this to my wife and she doesn't like this, but when things aren't going well, like man, I'm unhappy in my role. My boss is riding me. Sales are down. Oh, whatever it is. Like, yeah, you got a roof over your head. You got clothes on your back. You got food in the fridge. The one I fall back to, nobody's shooting at me right now, so it's really not that big a deal. It turns the volume down on some of that stuff and making sure that you're putting things into perspective. We had somebody at the jujitsu school that I run. We had somebody come in. They're like, "Yeah, I'm just not sure if I've got time for this. I'm super busy. Like, what do you think?" And I was like, "Well, I'll be honest." I was like, "I can tell you this." I was like, "Everything else in my day is considerably easier than my morning routine." And he was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "At 5:30 in the morning, there are a dozen to 20 different people who are actively trying to murder me when we do jujitsu." Though it turns the volume down on the rest of the stuff that has to happen throughout the day. So I just always try to remember, and I teach this to my kids, like that mental resilience, and just like, yeah, like this too shall pass, right? Like it's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this. It's not the end of the world. We're gonna keep going, and that just mentality has always really served me well. It's definitely it's thrown some loops for us occasionally because I'll be like, yeah, oh, this isn't working out. Like, yeah, okay, well, hey, I'll just find something else. And it's like, well, I put in my notice at this company. Do you have another job lined up? No. But I believe in myself and that we will find another job and it's going to be okay. But I know that I can't do this anymore and I have to do what's best for me. So I think that's been super important. And then I think just being you said this earlier, that constant student, right? Like always being willing to learn and always working on yourself is really important. Whether it is, and it's not just in our mental capacity. I mean, I joke about this. I think I owned one polo shirt 5 years ago. Now I own dozens of polos. I wear polos pretty much all day, every day, right? Because it's a little more professional. I'm not wearing T-shirts with, Coors Light logos on them anymore. I'm more of a professional, so I'm wearing more professional attire. I am working in, the sales industry. I work in the fitness industry, so I'm constantly learning and about those things, and just always trying to be that student to try to make myself better.
That's excellent. It's as you were talking, I there's two sides of the thing, and you said it like we're also respectful of whatever people are going through. Um, Early in my life, my first wife, she ended up getting type 1 diabetes, and I remember that people would always tell like, well, at least it's not cancer, at least it's not this, at least it's that. And one of the little sayings that we came up together was, like when your hand's on a burning stove, it's hard to tell the rest of your body going, well, you're not on fire, you're okay. And like people got to deal with whatever the pain is at the time, right? So it's one side about being respectful, but then the other side of it is like, hey, sometimes you also don't overreact, don't make the problem your everything. So
Yeah.
like a buddy of mine is, I remember this like just a week ago. His kids broke the bathroom upstairs, big water mess, pours into his, downstairs. Oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. And dude, half the world doesn't have bathrooms.
Yeah.
So
Right.
sometimes,
It could
you
be
got,
way worse.
a little perspective, hey, it
Yeah.
sucks. You're going to pay someone to fix it. You got the money to fix it. You may not like spending it, but it's not the worst thing in the world, right? So I guess I'm not inviting telling people, be happy that your toilet breaks and causes the big water
No.
mess.
Yeah.
But, it's also don't let those things wrap you around the axle so much that it affects the rest of your life and your relationships around you. So, so
100%.
this has been really good, Ben. I really appreciate this. Um, Last big question, what's that one piece of advice, be it business or personal, you would like to share with the audience that might help them be successful as you've been?
Ooh, man. I mean, God, there's so many life lessons that I have picked up over the years, narrowing down to one. I mean, I know I've shared a bunch, that being that constant professional. I'll go back. One of the things I talk a lot about is just discipline equals freedom. That's extreme ownership. One of my favorite books by Jocko Willink and Leif
Cool.
Babin. You know, discipline in what we do breeds freedom, and that is in how we work with people. How I'm disciplined in how I work with people. I don't want to say I am. I'm always trying to be disciplined, right? I'm not perfect. No one is. So, but I am always trying to be more disciplined with my inbox. I'm trying to be more disciplined with my calendar, with my free time, with my intention, with the words that I am saying and how that affects other people. So I would say, the biggest thing that's really, I think, tried to help me is always looking to improve myself to help improve my situation, as opposed to how can I improve my situation so that will improve me. Um, and then just remembering, when life gets hard, like this too shall pass. So,
So true. So
yeah.
true. All right, Ben. Hey, if someone wants to get in contact with you, learn and work with you more, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, I would say, you can find me on LinkedIn, just Ben Timm with two M's, Timm. You can find me on social media through that. Some of the best ways, if you're ever in the working in the health and fitness industry, whether that is with software, whether that is with coaching, equipment, whatever it is, always down to have those conversations and just, shoot the shit a little bit on what's going on. I love helping my team, but just anything I can do to help just raise the bar, for the rest of the world is always a good day in my world. So I'd say check me out on LinkedIn. It's really the best thing I got.
Ben, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Carlos. It's been wonderful to talk with you, and I really appreciate it, and just been enjoying the podcast a bunch. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Well, everyone, that does it for this week's episode. Please subscribe on your favorite platform. We greatly appreciate it. And until next time, I wish you nothing but the best success.